So Nozi, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we walk into the future, can you tell us a little bit about your own background? Where did you grow up?
Thank you so much, Dr. Nick, for the opportunity, and love your platform here. I grew up in Pietermaritzburg. So Pietermaritzburg is the capital of KwaZulu-Natal. So I grew up there most of my primary and secondary schooling I did there. Part of my childhood, I grew up actually in a farm. My parents had a farm, and then we later moved into the suburbs. Yeah, and my family home is still in Pietermaritzburg. Both my parents are in Pietermaritzburg, so I go there quite often, treasure it and love it, and it reminds me of my childhood very much.
Great. And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Sure, I love that question. My dream career when I grew up, I wanted to be a teacher or a counselor. I really wanted to improve the well-being of others. And both my parents are incidentally teachers themselves, and they are quite respected in that industry, and they were, you know, also quite impactful in the community. They just instilled a lot of admiration in me, just seeing them wake up every day, get ready, go and teach, stand up all day, and after hours also do extra lessons, and they were quite passionate about it, which I quite loved. And I think growing up I admired that, and I wanted that for myself as well.
Tell us, Nozi, who inspired you in your early days?
Inspiration in my early days, so definitely inspiration has been different as I've progressed in my life and my career. But in my early days, my parents, so both my mom and dad, very disciplined, hardworking, come from difficult backgrounds. Not everything was dealt to them. They had to make it happen for themselves. So they were quite instrumental in the very early days, as well as some of my uncles. So some of my uncles already moved to Joburg and had their own careers and businesses. So yeah, I was quite encouraged and admired that in them, that they went the entrepreneurial route, which was very different to following almost like a career. So lots of inspirations from them. I've also got two older brothers who just adore me, and take care of me and just love me as their sister. And I've got lots of admiration, like, you know, from them as well. So yeah, it was a combination of those in the early parts of my childhood and career.
Now, Nozi, today you're the head of data at FNB. You've been nominated, voted, Inspiring 50, Top 50 South Africa. You are amongst the top 3 digital female leaders in the country. Looking back over your career, would you say there was a turning point where things could have gone different?
Sure, that's a good one. I think the first turning point is probably the fact that I started my career in consulting. And I think starting my career in consulting really helped shape my tenacity, my discipline, my work ethic, and also just working with different people from across the world. I was quickly exposed to working outside of South Africa, and working on big, large programs and following standards and procedures across the globe. So I think that definitely played a big pivotal role quite early in my career, and in shaping just my thinking, my exposure, and my passion and excitement and what's available out there in the world. That would be one, Dr. Nick. And I think another one that I probably would say was a pivotal point or a milestone was working for a global petrochemicals company, where I did global IT delivery in country, and was exposed again to just working with the top top of the world designers, developers, thinkers, SMEs. And you know, I got the opportunity to travel and implement these IT solutions in different parts of different continents, even in parts of the world I never dreamt I'd even go to.
Like?
You know, places like Estonia.
Okay.
Yeah, I quite loved Estonia, and I went there in May, so it was daylight saving, so the sun would rise around 4 o'clock a.m. and set around 11:30 in the evening, which was amazing because then I'd have like a whole full day to ourselves
Well,
after a few hours in the office.
since you mentioned Estonia, Nozi, I believe I have a friend there. I believe they're one of the first countries that have gone fully digital.
Yeah, definitely one of the top 10 modernized countries in the world, and just the way that they do day to day, just, you know, from getting off the airport to getting to your hotel, how seamless that whole transaction and interaction is. The kids being exposed to digital ways of doing work and schoolwork, and just even the environments and transportation. Everything is interlinked, Wi-Fi connected everywhere. Just, yeah, it was quite an experience.
And tell us, Nozi, what is driving you today?
Sure. I think today what's driving me is connectedness. And by connectedness, I mean, you know, engaging and having real relationships with the people that I love, the people that I care about, my colleagues, my staff, and being present in the moment, and really just taking a moment to enjoy those relationships. You know, even if it's a phone call from my mother, being excited about that and listening to her and being present. If I'm having a glass of wine with friends and nice food, really tasting it and enjoying those conversations, being fully present and also appreciating how we are all interconnected. Even, you know, things like my gardener, who's actually roaming around and now sorting out my garden, my helper that, you know, maintains my house. You know, so all these things from a people perspective really drives me. I think also, Dr. Nick, the other component is just the social impact and giving back and paying it forward. So yeah, that's quite important for me, that I continue to do that in different avenues, whether it's in the businesses I'm involved in, whether it's creating content, whether it's mentorship, whether it's, you know, just helping where I can, or on just the people around me and in our country especially.
Well, these are great leadership qualities. And talking about leadership, Nozi, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
Sure. Yeah. So the future of leadership for me, it encompasses a few things. So future leaders need to be really about people and be invested in people and care about people and want to elevate people, and also be invested in growing their leadership skills themselves. Future leaders must definitely focus on the people management, growth, and caring about others. And it's not easy. You can have really, really good talent and great SMEs, but they can't really work with people and help them grow and become better and elevate them. So that's important. The other element for me is just creative thinking and storytelling. You know, we all love stories. When we were kids, we'd sit and listen to tales, and we'd get them because they were so simple to understand, and they told a nice story that you had an image in your mind of what it looks like. And I think, you know, as future leaders, we must be better at articulating ourselves in those manners and telling a story and bringing people along the journey, this problem solving, complex problem solving and critical thinking, very, very important to be able to hold those type of discussions, and get people in a room to discuss and put plans in place and crystallize it to lower end levels that people can actually consume and be able to take that complex problem or that solution that you're trying to put together and execute and bring it to life. Very important.
And Nozi, what have you learned from your own leadership journey? What would you say is it we need to do more to encourage future leaders, to empower future leaders?
Sure. So much, but I think for me personally, in my career, more especially, is just the importance of realizing what you actually bring to the table. So John C. Maxwell always speaks about staying in your strength zone, and we all have a strength zone, and it's quite important to stay in that strength zone and bring that out, and not be afraid to bring that out or let anyone dim that light. So just bringing who you are, your assets, your values. There's a uniqueness in some form of skill set or the way that you go about solving things or getting people together that's very unique and your strength to you. So that's very important. I think also in organization, it's important to feel at home. So, feeling at home and not feeling like you're a visitor or that you don't belong, but feel at home as if you're part of the tribe, you're part of the team, and you're all here coming together to win a game or to put this thing and change it and make life of it. And not always expecting the organization or the people that you work with to make you feel that, but you actually being very intentional about feeling that yourself and making sure that you feel comfortable, you feel at home, you feel a part of the team. That's been not a journey, but quite an important integral thing for me as well in my career. As I've joined corporate and grown up the ladder.
And Nozi, when you speak to future leaders, what do you tell them about social media? How should they navigate social media to build their own personal brand?
Yeah, I think social media has a lot of pros and a few cons. I encourage people to use social media. I think what I usually say is, be yourself. Don't mimic someone. Don't try to create a different persona than who you are. Let's still, when we look at that social media, whether you're sharing content, sharing your about yourself, bring yourself into it. I even say to people when they present a deck that anyone can present a deck, but there's a difference that you bring, your individuality. There's something that we remember that, oh, okay, even though that deck could have been presented by 3 or 4 people, the way that you did it is unique to you. So social media, be yourself. And I think also use it for the right reasons. The past 18 months, if I look at my LinkedIn profile, I've been able to connect with people all over the world, just, asking questions, or we were in speaking engagements together, or we were trying to solve for something together somewhere, or it was just random questions. And I think those relationships and networks have also given a lot of value to me and also to them. So it depends how you use it, but don't lose yourself in it.
Now, Nozi, what is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? These are obviously challenging times. And how should future leaders, what type of challenges should future leaders expect to encounter in their career?
Yeah, so challenges, of course, challenges will always be there and will always come in different ways or forms. Some of the challenges, that will be presented are just around inclusivity and diverse thinking. So you need to be able to work with different types of people, different genders, race, ethnicity, country, be able to present yourself and your thoughts and your experience in those situations, and also allow others to do the same, and utilize all those viewpoints to create a better product that actually caters for, that diverse thinking. And we, moving away from group thinking and bias, but working quite closely and collaborating with different types of people. So that's going to be a big ask. It will continue to be a big ask. The other one, which I've mentioned, and I think, again, it will continue, is the people game. So, understanding people, how they operate, caring about them, investing in them. Not everyone wants to do that, but, you have to show interest in people. And really elevate them and talk and lift them up and bring them into the conversations and the deliverables or the things that you're trying to solve for. So that people management engagement perspective also quite key. Some of the other challenges I think are around just creativity. Obviously, we all speak of fourth and fifth industrial revolution and certain roles or tasks being automated. So you now have to be a little bit creative and bring your creative side, because robots don't have that. Humans have that. We've got that human element. So that human design thinking, that human design feeling, emotions, experience, lived, experienced, wished experience.
Yeah.
So those elements are quite key, and yeah, future leaders who have some of those traits, I think, will manage better than others who may not.
And Nozi, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills you would want to factor in?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'm sounding like a record here. Complex, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, people engagement, collaboration, yeah, and just bringing yourself, so that's instilling confidence, speech, communication, simplicity. Those are the skill sets that I would say are quite important, and I'd bring in my curriculum.
And Nozi, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Oh, I love that question. So I'll share one example maybe. And it's a lengthy one, so that's why I'll make it one. So we're recruiting for a project management role a few years ago, and the lady applied for it, and this lady didn't really have any project management skills, and she had a sales background, a marketing background, but what we liked about her was just her attitude. She was a go-getter. She was doing extra things on the side to become a better project manager and a business analyst. She was job shadowing people because the environment that she was in wasn't really, conducive for what she wanted to become. So she had to almost maneuver around the system to make it happen for her. So we hired her for that specific role. And once we hired her for that specific role, she was quite intentional with me. I was her mentor, and she said, I really want to grow into an analyst type role and an SME type role. And we started looking at positions or projects that she could get involved in as a PM and also work as a business analyst. Anyway, fast forward 6-8 months later, she was nominated for one of the top performers in the group. And then 2-3 months later, she was looking to now grow out of that role and actually run a team, being part of a manco. She applied for a few roles within the group, and I coached her on some of the interviews and interview questioning and just the passion that she wants to do and the elements that she wanted to study. She got that role. She's now thriving. She's got a few people underneath her, just in a space of, I would say probably 8 to 14 months. Yeah, so that's been a really beautiful story for me. And I guess, I mean, most of the work was her side. I think my side as a mentor was just asking the relevant questions, what's your passion? What do you wanna get out of what you do? What type of work do you wanna do? What value do you wanna create? And just being honest with her as well, around those discussions and yeah, just helping where I could and encouraging her.
And Nozi, looking back over your leadership journey and maybe your learning journey, who are the type of role models of leadership that future leaders should consider and learn from?
Yeah, so in my journey, I think I glean more on the traits and the characteristics of some of these leaders, and they span across different industries, including even sports, sportmen and women. I wouldn't say, they're specific ones particularly, because that gives out a lot, but in terms of material that I have read and I quite like, and I've mentioned him a bit before, is John C. Maxwell. John C. Maxwell has really good leadership content that's relevant and that's people focused, and that's also, talking to your full self and social impact as well. I would recommend that some of the listeners perhaps look to read and check out some of his material. Yeah, and I've got a few favorite industry or influencers out there. Jack Ma is one of them. Yeah, I'll probably stop there. There's a few others that I just glean on their traits and the things that they've accomplished and how they went about it.
Now, Nozi, how can our listeners connect with you and where should they follow you?
I think the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is more the open platform that I use. So yeah, they can definitely find me there. Nozipho Duma. They'll find me on LinkedIn.
Right. And last but not least, Nozi, what is your message to the millions of kids out there who are now considering a career, who are looking for guidance, and who are not quite sure what makes for success in this new economy, in this new world?
Ooh. I would just say, go, it's almost the same things that people tell us, but sometimes we don't take it to heart and actually believe it. Believe in yourself. My dad used to say to me, I am my biggest cheerleader. And my dad is one of the biggest cheerleaders and one of my favorite people in the whole world. And if my dad can say to me that I am my biggest cheerleader, I quickly had to realize that I need to cheer for myself very quickly. So you are your biggest cheerleader, and continue cheering yourself on and go after those things that you want to achieve and bring your full self into them and knock on the doors. Ask for help, ask for advice. The world is open. People actually are willing to help and listen to inquisitive and curious and invested people. So utilize that, and yeah, you'll make it. Just push on. So I was gonna say that just one more thing, maybe on a message that I want to leave with the leaders is, if we are in the business of being leaders, we really need to be in the business of people and elevating people. That's one big thing for me that's quite important that we continue to do. And I'd love to leave some of the leaders with that thought as well.
Well, thank you so much, Nozi. And thanks again for shining your light so brightly and being a role model and an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you so much. I loved our chats. Thank you.